very much for the invitation from I'm Hugh from the Ballymun Local Drugs Task Force, and we've been obviously very involved with the Infant Parent Project since it was set up. So I think next week the first client of the Infant Parent, 11 years ago, the first referral came into Vera as the first infant parent support worker in 2011, I think it was, and so next week will be the 11th anniversary or something like that, I think it is. So, and so it's great to be part of the project. So it's nearly 11 years to the day since the project received its first referral. In 2012, a number of people came together from the Drugs Task Force, the Ballymun Network, YAP, the HSE, to look at what needs there were in the area. And one of the big needs was that there was a need for somewhere where people who were struggling with drugs or alcohol could get support while pregnant. So there was a great willingness for a number of people to cooperate. Young Ballymun came on board as well and offered to provide the sort of supervisory support and so forth. So that was really great to have as well. So what people found was that I'm half trying to sort of read this and half trying to wing it. So I better just start reading because I don't know, I'm losing myself all over the place. So key people and key agencies had identified that there were a number of women who needed support in their pregnancies while they were dealing with the challenges of problematic drug or alcohol use. And while services were available to them in maternity hospitals, public health nurses, methadone clinics, etc., we were aware that many of them didn't fully avail of the help on offer because they were afraid. They had a fear that they might be judged, that a report might go into social work about them, and so on. And the development of this fantastic project was supported by a number of people across the local community and statutory services, including the HSE and TUSLA. YAP were a very willing partner and agreed to manage and host the project. The Local Drugs Task Force would provide the funding, and Young Ballymun would provide the guidance and specialist support on infant mental health and other crucial areas. And Justin Gleeson from the HSE, he was the HSE liaison midwife, would provide the link to the maternity hospitals, drug treatment services, etc. when this was needed. So the project has grown over those years. The team is now made up of it's supposed to be 3 people. Vera did a legger there earlier this year. So Sarah and Mary are still here, and I know the new worker will be recruited soon to fill Vera's position. And we'd like to just say thanks to the HSE for providing that new funding this year to make that possible. So up to the December of last year, the infant parent team had supported 416 parents, mainly women, before their babies were born or who were parents of new infants up to the age of 2. And in the evaluation report that Marie published in May this year, the voices of those who were supported comes through in very positive ways on the project. People spoke about approaching the project at first with huge apprehension because of the stigma they felt, the fear that social services would get involved, etc. And then feeling fully supported and encouraged to make the right choices for themselves and their babies, and how this helps turn their lives around. More and more self-referrals are being made to the project, mainly because of the word of mouth that's gone out about the quality, expertise, friendliness and professionalism of the team. This is the best vote of confidence the project can get. And from a Drugs Task Force point of view, we look forward to continuing to support the project, and we hope the family room that we're opening today will provide a welcoming space for the children and parents using the project and be a great resource to the team itself. So.
Hey, Isil, I'm Sarah. I'm just speaking from the heart, really, from experience of being a mother in addiction and a mother in recovery, and what this is going to mean to people. And I know to some people this is just a room with chairs in it, and it might mean a lot, but to an awful lot of other people it's going to be a lifeline. You know, it's a door that's been open for mothers in recovery, or mothers that are not in recovery, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, so you just have to bear with me. Mothers who struggle, like that chap shared, that your fear of opening your mouth when you are in addiction, that social workers, Tulsa, whoever it might be, will be brought into your life. So that fear kind of keeps you away from putting your hand out to be helped. And it's not then till you meet someone. I was lucky and blessed through the years that I did meet the beautiful staff up here in Yap, and that stigma was able to be lifted from me. But for an awful lot of mothers out there these days, it is there, and it's fear that these people are going to come in and take their children, or other things are going to happen and they don't like it. But to be able to come into this space now for an hour, to sit, whether it be sit in silence and sit and talk for an hour, whatever it is, be able to bring their child with them and know that they're safe and it's a safe environment that they're in. It's amazing, because it's also going to open an awful lot of doors. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. It's going to open an awful lot of doors for mothers to go into other places like recovery, and it's just amazing, I think, to be honest with you, because personally I feel that recovery is very male orientated, because women are not looked at the way men are, and Ireland doesn't have the supports for women that it should have. You know, I think the doors need to be open, and it really needs to be looked at for women, so that they can start getting on that road, you know, and living their lives and bringing their kids up to stop that cycle. That's what we're always on about, and the cycle's going to keep going if we don't change it. So, yeah. So this is a great addition to YAP, and it's going to be a great addition to people who come up to it and be able to come up with their kids and not have to worry about getting babysitters, doing around school times and everything else. So I really think it's an amazing opportunity that's happening here now, and I really look forward to see where it goes.
So yeah, just a little bit on we offer supports, a range of supports for parents impacted by addiction in the Ballymun community, and while much of our work would consist of home visits, we did see a gap in the service, that we needed to provide a safe, kind of child-friendly space for people to attend with their children. We don't want childcare to be a barrier for parents, and particularly, as Sarah Jane was saying, you know, it often falls on mothers, so we don't want it to be a barrier to accessing services here. So you know, it is our hope and our expectation that through the provision of this room now, that we'll have the capacity to provide our services to more parents who are finding it difficult to access services and get on the road to recovery. So I'm going to welcome Roisin Shortall to come and officially onto the room.
So good morning, everybody, and delighted to be here this morning. Dermot contacted me a short while ago to ask me to perform this function of launching the great new facility, and I was delighted to accept the invitation. I think all of us, and obviously you're very well aware of the services provided here in YAP for those of you who are working and associated with it, but I think all of us at political level, public representative level, are really conscious of the importance of YAP here. Over the last 40 years now, isn't it? Since 1981, which is just an incredible record that they have. And I know Mary here with me and Caroline, I don't know if there's any other public reps here, they would share that valuing of the work that YAP does. It really is an incredible beacon within the Ballymun area, and that you've such an extraordinary record over such a long period. Like, you are an essential service. I don't know whether the HSE or the government recognise that, but I think all of us who work in the local area appreciate the essential, absolutely essential services that you provide to the community here in Ballymun. Always in the most supportive and positive way, and always with that belief in the individual, their huge potential, the potential for growth, potential for recovery, and potential for living a hugely kind of satisfying and worthwhile life. And it's that kind of principle and ethos that underpins YAP that encourages people so much and enables people to remain involved in the services and go on to recovery, and maybe slipping back occasionally, but you know, continuing that journey of recovery to living a full life. And I just want to say that we really appreciate the services that you provide here. They're just so important. And I want to thank Dermot and all of the team and everybody who's been involved down through those 40 years in being really the mainstay of services, health services, addiction services in the Ballymun area. I also want to just pay tribute to the Drugs Task Force for the essential role that they play in supporting YAP, but in supporting so many other services in the addiction area. And I'm often talking to people who are trying to get their head around, you know, issues about addiction and the social determinants of health and well-being, sometimes at government level and sometimes, you know, at health service level and that. And I'm always very proud to talk about what's happening in Ballymun, because Ballymun has been the trailblazer in terms of addressing the addiction problem that besets so many communities in this country, unfortunately. So it's a terrific support service that's provided by the Drugs Task Force. And there's a huge body of knowledge and wisdom and expertise that has been built up in Ballymun. And I think we've always been very open to sharing that expertise to beyond the area. And I think Ballymun is increasingly recognised as, you know, the trailblazer and the leader there in terms of how you provide fully integrated and embedded community services for the local community, many of whom are struggling with the issue of addiction. So, great pride, and I think you bring that pride to the area generally in terms of, you know, we know what we're doing, we recognise the challenges, and there's no doubt that there are significant challenges, but we're also very flexible in terms of providing the kind of services that people need and meeting people where they're at. And I think that's a really important thing. It's not judgmental, as Sarah said. It's about meeting people where they're at and it's providing kind of supports that they need to move on in their life and to reach recovery. So it's a terrific service. I also very much welcome and recognise the emphasis that all those of you working in the addiction area have placed on the importance of pre-birth and after birth, and especially those first 5 years. And, you know, that has been the hallmark, I think, of the approach that's been taken for a number of years now here. How those first early years are so critical and how we need to put in place the kind of family support services that are so important for the child's own well-being, but also for the parents. And all of us who are parents know how stressful parenting is, the worries, you know, the feeling that you're not doing your best, you're letting your child down and all of that kind of thing. Everybody feels those pressures. But I think when somebody is also dealing with an addiction, like, those pressures are so much greater and they bring about a whole range of emotions, many negative emotions and as well as positive ones, and there's always that concern about you're not doing the best for your child, even though everybody wants to do that. So that's how the infant parent service came about. I think a recognition of the need to provide those important supports, in existence for 11 years, as Sarah said, and, you know, again, very much supported by the Drugs Task Force. And that is about recognising the importance of those years for the child and for the parent who is struggling. And I want to particularly just today recognise the contribution that Vera has made in this area. I mean, I remember the first time I heard her speaking and I said to myself, we're in safe hands. She knows the territory, absolutely. And she has been such an important contributor to people's well-being in Ballymun over those years. I said to you earlier, you've left very, very big shoes to fill, but I would just like you to join with me. You may have done this on other occasions yourselves, but I'd like you to just join with me in paying special thanks to Vera. For that exceptional work that's been done over the years. I also want to recognise Micheál here as well in terms of the work that he's involved in. And again, that was spawned from the Drugs Task Force in recognising it's not only about meeting the needs of adults, but it's about meeting the needs of children as well, and supporting those services through funding and so on. So there is very much that mentality in Ballymun and that recognition of the importance of childhood. And indeed, you know, many people now are recognising the whole issue of childhood trauma and the role that that plays in addiction. I also want to thank Sarah Jane for her contribution here today. She's a fantastic ad for the service and it's just brilliant. And, you know, I wish more people were hearing what you were saying and the massive progress that you have made, thanks in large part to yourself, but also hugely supported by YAP here as well. And we'd like to see more and more parents being able to avail of those services. So Sarah spoke about the range of different services, the home visits, the individual work, some of the group work, and again just that flexibility and adaptability of YAP, where they recognised there's a gap in services and they moved to fill that gap. And that gap was in having a facility that parents could bring their kids along to, especially mothers, could bring their children along to a safe place where there wasn't going to be any judging, there wasn't going to be any kind of criticism, a safe place that you could bring your children to where they'd be cared for well, where you wouldn't be dependent on family or friends or trying to pay for childcare or anything like that, and that you would be assured of that service being available over a period of time during your engagement with services in YAP. And just that peace of mind and freedom that it gives you to address your own issues then here. So that is critical, and we know that for many women trying to access different services, the absence of childcare is a huge barrier to them availing of those services. So again, YAP steps in, meets a need, and we know that the community, the individual, the families and community will benefit from that service. So look, with that, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who's involved in this, and it's not just about this important new facility, it's for all the work that you do day in, day out, year in, year out in this community, which makes such a positive contribution to the lives of everybody living in this community. So on my behalf and on behalf of, I think, of other public representatives, thank you so much for all of the work that you do here. Mm-hmm. It's really, really important, and we appreciate it very much. Thanks. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Yay!